I'm Elex Michaelson. This week, the issue is the coronavirus. The stock market in a free fall as the virus spreads to the Golden State. Dr. Mehmet Oz making a house call with us with advice on how to stay healthy. Then the issue is Super Tuesday. California, the biggest delegate prize in the nation. California native and presidential candidate Tom Steyer standing by to talk with us. Plus, insights and analysis from our panel. Bob Shrum, Jessica Yellin, they're here. The issue is starts right now.
Broadcasting across California, California's only statewide political show. You're watching The Issue Is.
The biggest story in the country this week had to do with fears about the growth of the coronavirus. It sent the economy, the Dow Jones, spiraling. A lot of people canceling their vacation plans. So is all this overblown? And what exactly do we need to know about the coronavirus? In the house, one of the best-known doctors in the country, Dr. Mehmet Oz, host of the Dr. Oz Show. Dr. Oz, thank you. I guess we can.
We should have done that. Why did you do that?
We're not supposed to do that.
We joke about it. Actually, that act, which is probably dating from the Middle Ages of showing you were disarmed by expressing your hand, that's going to go away.
Really?
Yeah, maybe fist bumps, elbows probably wiser, maybe a little namaste, but the handshake's got to go away.
All right, so let's talk about that. The coronavirus, what do we actually need to know? What does the average person need to know?
It is not as deadly as initially feared. Part of the reason that those numbers were overblown was because there were hospitals that were completely infested with the virus, with people in the ICU devastatingly ill already who couldn't weather the storm of the virus. So those numbers, when they look at mortality rates outside of Wuhan province in China, are actually about 2 per 1,000 people dying. That's twice what the regular old seasonal flu is. So that's probably the headline. It is. We all have deep in our psyche a fear that our species will be wiped out by an infection. And all the experts actually feared that mode of extinction more than any other. I get it, but this virus is not it. Now, what is the problem? It's incredibly contagious. I mean, big time. Just give you some numbers. If I have the coronavirus, I will infect 45 people in a week. If I have the regular flu, I'll infect maybe 9, 10 people. So with that much more infectivity, it's going to become an endemic virus, always present in our population, like the seasonal flu. It's not going away. So we're going to have to get comfortable with it. But in the meantime, there's some growing pain. And the panic you see in the stock market and businesses and families and schools being worried are reflective of that.
And part of the reason you say that it is so contagious is that it lives longer on surfaces than the regular flu.
A lot of people think you get the flu because someone coughs in your face. I wish it was that simple. And yes, if someone coughs, it's a problem because the droplets travel 90 miles an hour. You can't get out of the way. But the real way these viruses travel is you touch your face and you're sick, and you touch a surface or you cough on a surface. The virus, the regular old seasonal flu virus, lives about 2 days on that surface. But the coronavirus appears to live for 7 to 9 days. So how can you predict who touched that arm rail or hand rest that you're touching right now 9 days ago?
So the number one thing that everybody is asking, how do I keep myself from getting this virus?
So the masks are not worth doing right now. Let me clear up that issue. And you can't get the true masks that work, the N95s anyway. There are none left that I could find. And the few that are out there aren't enough for all of us. The regular surgical masks, the ones that I wear in the operating room, they don't work. They're designed to help prevent me from contaminating you, not to help me. So forget about all that. Here's what works. Hand washing, but only 5% of us wash our hands 20 seconds. You really have to wash your hands. So that number 2 is sleep. It helps your innate immune system recover. And it's probably the best way to deal with an infection if you have it. And the third benefit away is daily physical activity, because exercise seems to rev up the immune system so you're better able to protect yourself. The vast majority of people who have this virus probably won't know they have it. So, in China, they appear to have a little sore throat, some intestinal problems maybe. They don't know they had a coronavirus because they expected some devastating illness deep in your lungs with a pneumonia. That's not what happens to the vast majority of people.
So how do you know that you have it? And if you do have it, what do you do to get better?
You're going to get better by yourself almost always. 1 in 1,000, 2 in 1,000, you're wrong, but most supposed to get better. The symptoms are going to be generally subtle upper respiratory tract illnesses. The virus, it's a coronavirus by name, but that specifically means it's the sore throat family of viruses. So you'll get a sore throat. It'll sometimes dive down into your lungs. We know about 10% of the time it's only the intestinal systems. But the biggest and most concerning issue, and that's why this virus is a concern for public health officials, is you won't have any symptoms when you're contagious. So early on, you won't realize you're sick. You'll infect people in your school, your home, et cetera. So we have to expect we'll get it. We'll have to believe that until we have a vaccine, and I want to speak about that in 1 second, we're all at risk, but the vast majority of us will not have a life-threatening problem. It is not a man-made, weaponized virus. Let's debunk that. This is, by all the experts' opinions, it's been sequenced now. This is some horrible quirk of nature, but it also means we can target it. So there are 20 different vaccines that have already been out there being developed. The first ones are now being put into clinical trials. We got to make sure it's safe, because if you're going to give 100 million people a shot, you want to make sure it's the right shot and it really doesn't cause side effects. So we believe in 12 to 18 months we'll have an effective vaccine. In the meantime, the summer we got a little break because the virus does not like the warm weather. But next winter it's going to come back and hit us hard.
Well, this is a political show. This week the president appointed Mike Pence to lead the federal response, the vice president. If you're the vice president or you're an advisor to the vice president, what should he do? What should be the response of this country?
Well, you want fair, honest, and sometimes brutal assessment of what's going on. We don't have enough testing kits right now. Non-true problem is we're panicked, we shut everything down, we're all going to die from this virus.
So your bottom line, it sounds like, is don't completely panic over this.
I would live your life, do the wise things, and if you're an investor, I'd really think about getting back in it. If you're a political leader, your main story is not to underplay this, but to say we're better than panicking. We're better than that.
And speaking of living your life, I just got to give you a shout out, because we always like to have fun on this show. I saw you in a push-up contest with Mark Wahlberg.
Gosh.
What was that like, and what prompted you to actually do that?
It was a brief mere period of psychosis, I guess. You know what happened? So I did a really big show to launch a campaign that everyone should give up breakfast. Breakfast is a marketing campaign. You don't have to have breakfast. And if you have breakfast foods in your pantry, eat them later in the morning. You should intermittent fast. Eat your dinner by 7, have your breakfast at 11. That way you get 14, 16 hours of your body not having been forced to digest food. Mark Wahlberg called me a fool, said we had a beef, said I needed a defibrillator, he was going to do this, he was going to do that. So we finally agreed to have a showdown, and that was a wonderful event yesterday.
Yeah, well, you looked very strong.
I don't know about that. I was weakling compared to him. Plus, I have too much body hair. He was saying if I could trim the body hair, I might actually look like he does.
Thank you for that image. Let's leave on that.
Exactly. I'm wearing a sweater under this.
Dr. Mehmet Oz, thank you very much for the information.
Congrats on your success.
Thank you very much. We love having you here on The Issue Is. Up next here on The Issue Is, more on Super Tuesday, our panel, when we come back. Voting is already underway in voting centers all over California, and of course via vote by mail. It's likely millions have already voted here. More than 400 delegates at stake here in California. So far, it appears that the Golden State is feeling the burn. Californians are finally voting for president. Polls show Bernie Sanders, who's made 3 appearances here on The Issue Is, leading the pack.
What we are seeing in California and all over this country, people sick and tired of working longer hours for low wages.
Polls show a scramble for second in California between former Vice President Joe Biden, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg. We first met him last March in West Hollywood when I was the only one there to interview this relatively unknown figure. How does a millennial mayor, openly gay man, win the presidency?
Well, the path is narrow, but I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't see a path. And what we found is when we get in front of people, they respond. Thank you.
That's proven to be true. Buttigieg appearing on our show more than any other candidate, culminating in a town hall event at USC in front of 1,200 voters.
We came together to change the trajectory of this country, and time is running out. We've got to do it now. That's why I'm asking for your help.
California will be the first true test for Mike Bloomberg.
Mike Bloomberg.
He's flooded the airways with hundreds of millions of dollars worth of TV ads. You're on TV a lot, which we appreciate. Great to see you on so much.
The networks love it.
I'm Tom Steyer.
Billionaire Tom Steyer has also spent big on ads trying to win his home state of California. Tom Steyer, welcome back to The Issue Is. Good to see you.
It is so nice to see a friendly face from California.
Senator Amy Klobuchar hasn't invested big here, but is hoping her message carries her through. It's been a long and winding road to get here. Senator Harris, welcome back to The Issue Is.
Alex, it's good to be with you.
Welcome to The Issue Is.
Thanks for having us.
Alex, it's really good to be on.
Thank you for having me,
Nice
Alex.
to have you here. Through the process, we've met and said goodbye to several candidates. We've tried to have fun with all of them through our game, Personal Issues. Best thing about being a Californian?
Everything.
Who's your role model?
Harry Truman.
Favorite athlete?
Michael Jordan. LeBron James.
I was a Johnny Unitas fan.
Favorite TV show?
Right now, it's This Is Us.
Favorite TV show?
I don't watch television very much.
Favorite California political show?
The issue is.
There we go. Any New Year's resolutions for you?
Yeah, to become the Democratic nominee for President of the United States and defeat Donald Trump.
Isn't everybody? Joining us now is the last remaining Californian in the race for president. He's joining us from Columbia, South Carolina, Tom Steyer. Tom, welcome back to The Issue Is.
Alex, it's great to be with you. It really is.
So this has been a long road. Californians now voting early. Super Tuesday just a few days away. What's your final, most important pitch to the people of your home state?
Look, I am the person in this race who would declare a state of emergency on climate on day one. I'm the only person who takes climate seriously enough to deal with it immediately and have the president take emergency action. I'm the only person who takes race seriously enough to want to have reparations for slavery. And I'm the only person with a background that takes the economy seriously enough that will give a 10% tax cut to every American who makes less than $250,000. And I'll create over 4.5 million good-paying union jobs across this country.
So the president is taking notice of you. He tweeted about you this week. Here's what he said. To the people of South Carolina, Tom Steyer is a joke, laughed at by everyone, a total incompetent. He made money in coal. Now he hates coal. Did you see him fawning over Crazy Bernie? He has no chance. A loser for South Carolina, doesn't deserve your vote. What's your response to that?
Look, Mr. Trump is upset because I've pointed out that he's an incompetent president on the one thing people think he's good at is the economy. And I've pointed out that the coronavirus is his Hurricane Katrina. It's exposing how incompetent he is. He's a couple months late in responding. He's absolutely depopulated and defunded the Center for Disease Control, and he's turned it over to Mike Pence, probably the least competent person in the United States to deal with the coronavirus. So he's upset because I'm pointing out that he is a failure on an international stage that everybody can see. And of course, his gigantic ego can't take it. So, Elex, when he tweets at you, the only thing you can say is he must be worried about himself.
All right, let's talk about the path to the nomination itself. What is specifically your path to become the Democratic nominee? How do you pull this off?
I've got to be somebody who can appeal across the philosophical range of Democrats. I am a progressive Democrat. If you look at the three most important categories of economic justice, environmental justice, and racial justice, I'm progressive across the score, and on two of the three, I'm the most progressive person in the race. I'm not someone who believes, the way Bernie does, that the government should take over big parts of the American economy, because I don't think it works. I don't think it's good for working people. I don't think it's good for families.
One of the big stories this week is Bernie Sanders said that he would not accept Mike Bloomberg's money if Bernie became the nominee. If Bernie becomes the nominee, would you give him money, and should he take it?
Look, I don't think it's about money, honestly, Elex. I have said I'm not in the anybody but Bernie category. If Bernie's the nominee, I'm going to be working to support him and the Democratic Party. What I'm going to do is organize the American people to show up in November of 2020 and beat Mr. Trump and the whole kit and caboodle of the Republicans.
And speaking of getting out there, you have been out there for years now talking to voters. What is the biggest takeaway that you have gotten from actually talking to people? What's the biggest lesson you've gotten from this process of running for president?
If you travel this country, which I've done full time for 8 years, you fall in love with Americans. I've totally fallen in love. And you see that there is really deep injustice in this country.
Pretty profound words there. I'm just going to end on something fun. The other thing that people have known you for this whole thing has been your ties, that tartan tie. Have you gotten a neckwear endorsement deal out of this? Are we going to see a Tom Steyer line of ties?
That's pretty darn funny, Elex. I will say this. As somebody who people have teased for a long time as not knowing how to spell the word style, because of my tartan tie and my African belt, I've gotten a lot of compliments for the first time in my entire life about how I dress. And let me say, I've appreciated all of them.
All right. Tom Steyer, thank you very much for joining us throughout this process on The Issue Is, and stay safe on the campaign trail.
It's great to talk to you, Elex.
Thank you very much. Coming up next here on The Issue Is, a lot to unpack in the political world this week. Our panel, Bob Shrum, Jessica Yellin, they're here. We'll hear from them when we come back.
I've been hearing my name mentioned a little bit tonight. I wonder why.
Frontrunner Bernie Sanders in the unfamiliar position of taking incoming from all sides during this week's debate. Let's talk about the state of that race with this week's all-star panel. Joining us, Jessica Yellin. She offers news, not noise, in social media. Follow her, break down the big stories at Jessica Yellin. She's the author of the book Savage News, and she's a former White House correspondent for CNN and ABC News. Bob Shrum helped to run multiple presidential campaigns over several decades. Last week, he helped us co-host our town hall with Mayor Pete Buttigieg in his role as co-director of the USC Dornsife Center for the Political Future. That was a great event. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much. All right, Jessica, let's start with you. Where do you see the state of the race right now?
Well, Bernie Sanders is the clear frontrunner in the Democratic Party right now, a man who has not been a Democrat when he's not running for president, and the rest of the moderates are dividing the vote. So the conversation you hear among the, political insiders and the establishment is there a way to take down Bernie still, right? They won't say it publicly, but there's a real passion for finding another candidate. And other people need to get out of the race quickly for that to happen?
And what do you think?
I think South Carolina is absolutely critical. If Joe Biden wins by a substantial margin, he's revived and reborn as a candidate. And I suspect that if he does what he wants to do and what the polls indicate he may do in South Carolina, that he'll have enough momentum to pass threshold here.
When you say threshold, Jessica, what he means is this 15%. Why is 15% the number to look for on Super Tuesday?
Because any candidate who gets just below 15%, you can get 14%, gets no delegates. You have to hit that number to get delegates. And this is all a game of gathering enough delegates to be the winner in the convention, right? So it's conceivable that a number of these candidates come to California and don't break the threshold, and so it's all a wash for them here.
I think it's not only conceivable, but inevitable that some people are not going to break threshold. And, for all this talk about California being the key on Super Tuesday, the fact is that it will be 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock East Coast time by the time California results begin to come in. They come in very slowly. There may be an exit poll. And it could take a week or weeks to find out who won the delegates. Since the delegates are apportioned by congressional districts, you can mail your mail-in ballot on Election Day. And I think a lot of people, especially Democrats, are just now beginning to send in their ballots.
So there was this thought after Iowa and New Hampshire when Joe Biden got 5th place that he was basically dead, gone. Now you're talking about him as the alternative. How is that? I mean,
the reason Joe Biden has emerged as the most likely, or it seems to be the most likely alternative to Bernie, is because he does so well among African-American voters. And the core base of the Democratic Party is the African-American vote. He can turn them out. And not only can he turn them out, but there's been evidence that the others are doing very badly in that space.
And one of the candidates that did really well early on was Mayor Pete Buttigieg. We had this big town hall with him last week, impressed a lot of people at USC. What's the deal with his campaign?
I think he's immensely talented. I think he has a big future. He did not have the time, I think, to break through with African-American voters. Maybe it would have been impossible anyway because of their commitment to Joe Biden. But Elizabeth Warren has something of the same problem. She hasn't broken through. She's a remarkable candidate. She hasn't broken through with African-American voters.
Well, and one more note about last week. So last week, one of our producers, Nick Greitzer, who works so hard on our show, is a great guy, suggested that we ask Mayor Pete Buttigieg a certain question in our personal issues segment. That's where we have some fun. Well, apparently, Jimmy Fallon was watching his answer. Take a look at this from The Tonight Show.
I was just thinking about you because you came up in the news recently by Mayor Pete Buttigieg. And let me show you this clip really quick.
Who would play you in a biopic?
I'm hoping for John Mulaney.
Oh, okay. I could see that.
I was like, yo!
Would you I'm hoping for it. Like, I've been offered 2 movies, and I am in both of them. And I'm hoping for. Yeah, I think you got him.
So John Mulaney accepting that offer there on Twitter and on The Tonight Show. What'd you make of that moment?
I think it's great. I thought Buttigieg was funny when he said it, and I thought Mulaney handled it perfectly when he was asked about it.
Well, speaking of pop culture, John Mellencamp recently endorsed Michael Bloomberg and even cut an ad for him. So we're going to play some of his music. We're talking about Pink Houses. Ain't that America? There it is right there. We encourage you to get involved In our show, let us know what you think about everything. Log on to theissueisshow.com. Also send us an email to theissueis@foxtv.com. We've got a new podcast with Bob and Jessica doing a deeper dive into this race. Just search for The Issue Is. Wherever you stream your podcast, you can hear a lot more from them. But we've got scoops and predictions from them when we come back.
Can I get you an ice cream sandwich? Yes? You already filled
This week, we profiled a state Senate candidate named Josh Newman, who's using an ice cream truck as a vehicle to talk about issues. Interesting story. We also talked one-on-one with Dr. Jill Biden, the former second lady who's trying to become first lady. And recently, I spoke with Diana Taylor, who is Mike Bloomberg's choice for first lady. You can see all of those interviews streaming right now at youtube.com/Elex Michaelson. That is Elex with an E. Too much to fit into one show this week. Back now with our political panel, Bob Shrum, Jessica Yellin. We've got a new game. It's called The Issue Will Be. This is where we get to peer into the future. Some quick predictions to round things up. Okay, who is going to be the next person to drop out of the race?
Amy Klobuchar.
I have to agree. And she should. I mean, you know, there's no rationale left.
And maybe Tom Steyer.
Yeah, at the end of all this, who's going to be the Democratic nominee? Bob?
Biden or Sanders?
I'll go with that. I'll add this. Right now, it looks like Bernie Sanders is likely to be the nominee. The media wants a race. It's boring if you crown someone now. So I do think the media will look to find a number two to create a race, and we might not know until the convention.
That would be something.
Can I add one thing?
Sure.
The Sunday before the 2016 election on national television, I said, no how, no way, not in this universe or an alternative universe, can Donald J. Trump be elected president of the United States. So take my predictions with a grain of salt.
No credibility. Thank you. Thank you for reminding our viewers of
I
that.
don't believe I don't believe predictions. I think Jessica would agree with me. I think predicting the course of this thing right now is very difficult.
Well, this weekend, Bernie Sanders is hosting a big California rally with Public Enemy. Those are the guys behind the song Fight the Power. There it is. There's a bit of a throwback for you. So, you know, we know that the best way to actually fight the power is to vote. We now have same-day registration here in California. You can mail in your ballot up to Election Day. It's literally never been easier to vote. So do so. I'm Elex Michaelson. Thanks for watching, and go vote. Here we go, Bob. This is where you get to fight the power. Let's see it. Let's see you do it.